When we think about the law, we picture it as this super rational, logical, impartial thing, right? But what if I told you that one of our most primal, gut level emotions, disgust, is secretly shaping the very constitutional principles that govern our lives? We're going to explore how this powerful and often invisible force actually plays out in the highest courts. It's a pretty wild question when you stop and think about it, isn't it? The idea that something so visceral, that gut feeling of revulsion, could be literally written into our legal code. I mean, that just feels wrong. It goes against everything we think justice is supposed to be. And yet, the legal philosopher Martha Nussbaum argues it happens way more often than we'd like to admit. So to really get our heads around this, we have to look at two big competing ideas. On one side, you have what she calls the politics of disgust, which basically uses that feeling of revulsion to justify shutting out entire groups of people. And on the other side, you have the politics of humanity, which argues for empathy and reason as the true foundation for our laws. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into what this politics of disgust really is. Then we'll check out its antidote, the politics of humanity. After that, we'll see these two ideas totally collide in a huge case from Taiwan, see what happens after the law changes, and finally, we'll talk about the path forward. Sound good? Let's dive in. Okay, first up, the politics of disgust. So what exactly is it, and how on earth does it become the foundation for real-world discrimination? At the heart of this whole thing is a psychological trick that Nussbaum calls projective disgust. Here's how it works. Society takes its natural primal aversion to things like, rot, decay, bodily fluids, all that icky stuff, and it projects that feeling onto a whole group of people. It creates this totally irrational link that makes them seem less than human, like they're somehow dirty or contaminating. And this quote, wow, it just cuts right through all the fancy legal talk, doesn't it? It lays bare the ugly, irrational logic that's so often hiding just beneath the surface. It's this idea that, hey, I find you disgusting, and therefore I have the right to treat you as less than a full citizen. It's that simple and that terrifying. And make no mistake, this isn't some abstract academic theory. History is tragically full of this stuff. Think about the fear of contamination used to justify racial segregation, or propaganda portraying Jewish people as vermin or a disease, the concept of untouchables in caste systems, and of course, the rhetoric that has so often linked LGBTQ+ people with filth and disease. It's the same dangerous, irrational playbook over and over again. So if the politics of disgust is the poison, Nussbaum offers a constitutional antidote, the politics of humanity. And this isn't just some vague, feel-good call to be kind. It's a concrete three-step framework. Step 1, you actively use your imagination to find the shared humanity in other people. Step 2, you practice empathy to really try and understand their lives. And step 3, and this is the big legal part, you use the law to uphold something called the anti-subordination principle. Okay, this part is absolutely crucial. According to this principle, it's not enough for the law to just be neutral on paper. The law has to be an active force. It has to go out there and actively dismantle the systems that push any group of people into a second-class status. It has to fight the creation of social hierarchies. All right, enough theory. Let's see how this stuff actually goes down in the real world by looking at a huge constitutional battle in Taiwan. So, back in 2017, Taiwan's constitutional court made a truly groundbreaking decision. It ruled that denying same-sex couples the right to marry was unconstitutional. A couple of years later, that ruling became law, making Taiwan the very first place in Asia to achieve marriage equality. A major moment. And look at this. You can see Nussbaum's framework in action right here. Instead of getting bogged down in arguments about disgust or so-called tradition, the court focused on the universal human purpose of marriage. They defined it as a committed, intimate, permanent union. By doing that, they were actively looking for similarity, for that shared human goal. It's a perfect example. But here's the million-dollar question, right? When you win the legal battle, does the politics of disgust just pack up and go home? Well, the data from Taiwan suggests the fight just moves to a whole new battlefield. And this is exactly what Nussbaum predicted. When the laws no longer allow for open discrimination, that powerful emotion of disgust doesn't just evaporate, it goes underground. It retreats from the public square and moves into the more private spaces of our social circles, our communities, and even our own families. Now, get this. The data from Taiwan is absolutely fascinating. because it tells two totally different stories at the same time. On one hand, public support for the law itself has shot up by over 25 percentage points. That's a massive win. But, and this is a big but, when you look closer, the story flips. Polls show that general social friendliness toward LGBTQ+ people has actually gone down a bit. And even more surprisingly, parental acceptance of having an LGBTQ+ child has also dropped. So you've got this huge gap opening up. This table just lays it all out crystal clear. In the public and legal world, you have a huge win for humanity and reason. But in the social and private worlds, the places driven by emotion, there's a slide backwards. The politics of disgust, after being defeated in court, is now fighting a guerrilla war at the family dinner table.
So where does that leave us? What does this all mean for that long, hard road from having legal rights on paper to the lived everyday reality of empathy and acceptance?
And this quote from Nussbaum really just nails the key takeaway. The law is so important. It's a vital, powerful tool. It sets the rules of the game and sends a huge public message of equal respect. But it's only the first step. It's not the finish line. It just can't do the whole job all by itself. So the challenge just evolves. The focus has to shift from winning court cases to building emotional understanding. And that means education centered on empathy, and all of us making a conscious effort to recognize and confront the politics of disgust where it lives now, in our communities, our workplaces, and yeah, even in our own homes. At the end of the day, the law has paved the road. It's given us a map to a society of equals. But the journey itself, that really hard work of transforming fear into empathy and disgust into understanding, well, that's a journey we all have to take together.